I suddenly found out that my biological father was a British duke, but when I traveled to England and snuck into his castle, he had me arrested, mistaking me for a paparazzi. I pulled out my birth certificate and showed it to my father, Henry, who was utterly stunned. Yet, when his gaze fell on my ocean blue eyes, just like my mother, memories came flooding back to him. He was transported back 17 years, to the first time he'd met my mother, Libby. Henry had saved Libby after she tumbled down a hillside. They'd fallen in love at first sight, and even married in Morocco. But when Henry brought Libby home, his family despised her for being a wandering singer. To tear them apart, Henry's advisor first forced Libby to leave, then forged a breakup letter and gave it to Henry. The two lovers who'd loved each other deeply were torn apart just like that. Libby had given birth to me alone and raised me by herself until I was 15. Mom has given me all the love one could ask for, yet I still envy those who have their fathers by their side, while I only had an old photo of mine to get me through countless nights of longing. Until one day, I spotted my father online. To my even greater surprise, he was a British duke, so I decided to go find Henry and get to the bottom of why he'd abandoned my mother and me. I left a message for Mom and set off at once. With the little money I had, I could only afford a cheap motel, and that's where I met Ian. On a day, I saw on the motel's television that Henry was getting engaged the next week to none other than his advisor's daughter. I began to hesitate, wondering if I should disturb his current life. But Ian encouraged me to go meet my biological father, so I went to Henry's castle, only to be stopped by the guards. I had to find another way in, and luckily the ivy vines here were strong enough to climb. Even when I stood right in front of Henry, he still refused to believe me, out of spite. After all, in his mind, it was my mother who had betrayed him first. Heartbroken, I was about to leave, but Henry's mother defied everyone and told me I could stay. Her acceptance warmed my heart, and for the first time in my life, I got to stay in a lavish room. But my unexpected arrival filled Henry's fiancée and her daughter, my future stepmother and stepsister, with jealousy. So my stepsister deliberately made me dress in an absurd outfit for the royal fashion show, hoping to humiliate me. In the end, I was even pushed onto the stage on purpose, but I'd inherited my mother's talent for performing. After a brief moment of shock, I took off my ill-fitting clothes and hat, stepped onto the stage with confidence, and put on a show that was uniquely my own. My confident, charismatic performance didn't just win the affection of the young nobleman, but also the favor of the princess, who invited me to her dinner party. Henry grew more and more pleased with me, and I was the only one who brought joy to his side. Only my stepmother's family seethed with resentment.